Hello and welcome to Mile High Homeschool. My name is Megan. If you're new here, I'm a second generation homeschooler and I like to make videos from that perspective about homeschooling and homemaking, just to kind of encourage you along your journey. In today's video, I wanted to take you along with me as I plan out term 4 and also kind of give you guys a mid-year update about where we are with our curriculums, what I'm liking about them, what I'm not liking about them, what we're changing, that kind of thing, and just how we're going to move forward for the second half of our year. One thing about homeschooling that is a huge blessing is that you have a lot of flexibility with it. And so a lot of times homeschooling does not go according to plan. In fact, most of the school in the fall did not go according to plan simply because this pregnancy was a little more difficult than I was planning on. There was just a lot of things that really fell off the bandwagon. One thing about planning that is very true is that a lot of times you're going to have to change the plan and be okay with starting over, starting from scratch, just having a reset point and going from the beginning. So that is part of why I love planning with erasable pens, because I can change what I already had written out and adjust accordingly. Now, my goal here for the next 2 terms is that I really want to get in as much school as we possibly can and almost kind of overload or do more in these terms than we would normally. And the reason why is because by the end of this term 5 actually is when our baby is due. So I want to try to get as much school done beforehand that my daughter can do with me. I'm actually planning that in term 6, after the baby is here, that my husband is going to take over the more like hands-on subjects like math and language arts, and I'll continue doing the reading subjects like science and history and that kind of thing. With math, I am not going to continue doing Life of Fred with my daughter, at least this year, simply because it's a lot of reading. Once again, it just adds a lot of time to our day that I feel like isn't really necessary. She's not 100% comfortable reading it on her own, and considering that it's trying to explain all these math concepts, I'm not really comfortable with her reading it on her own either, because it's a lot for her to try to take in and understand, whereas if I read it to her, I can explain some, but her to do it independently isn't really working. And I also just feel like Life of Fred is not doing as much practice as I wanted. I was looking for a curriculum that was a little more open and go, whereas this one, if you want extra practice, they're like, well, then make flashcards or go track down a worksheet to do this or get manipulatives to do this. And it's like, that's great, but in this season right now, I am not wanting to have to do that. Like, I want to be able to just, we do math and it's done. I don't want it to be an overwhelming amount of problems, which I thought The Good and the Beautiful was for us. But I also don't want it to be so sparse that I'm having to find supplements constantly, which is what I feel like Life of Fred is. And so it's a little bit tricky. I think if I was in a different season, if I wasn't pregnant and had a toddler and that kind of thing, like, I would probably enjoy it a lot more. So I'm definitely not saying it's a bad curriculum. I know a lot of families that really love it. My sister and her kids love it and have really enjoyed it, but her kids are all much older and have started it when they were all older as well. So it's a little bit of a different case there, and she still supplements hers with worksheets and stuff too. But I think just for this season of life, it doesn't make sense. So we're going to continue with Master Books Math and keep going down that road. However, I am not going to continue with Life of Fred, I don't think. We'll just finish out the Master Books Math year 1 or year 2 curriculum that we're doing right now. I feel like it's covering a lot. It's not overwhelming. I feel like the worksheets, like, we're able to do multiple lessons a day if we really want to, which we are doing in some cases simply because I was so sick in the fall. We did not do a lot of math worksheets, and so we're able to kind of take the concepts that we learned in the fall through Life of Fred and now apply them through the worksheets in Master Books Math, which is nice. A couple things that I'm not planning for this next term or these next couple terms is I'm not planning any of our morning basket stuff, and I'm not planning any of our read alouds. And the reason why is because I don't want to feel guilty that I'm not getting as far along as I wanted to, because if there's a day where I'm not feeling well and we don't do the morning basket stuff because I needed extra sleep that morning, and so we slept in and school started late. I then don't want to feel guilty because we're behind or I don't know where to go and I'm having to figure it out. So with morning basket stuff and with our read alouds both, it's pretty much we'll read it when we have time to read it. And when we have time to do those studies, we will do them. But otherwise, I am not going to stress about it. Simply because in this season right now, it's not really working for us just because of where we are in life. I think they're wonderful things to plan, though. I definitely want to go back to doing a morning basket, that kind of thing, in future years. But I think for the rest of this year, we're not going to worry about that.
So one thing that I realized in going back and editing that I did not actually talk at all about was logic of English. And honestly, that's just because logic of English hasn't been a problem. We've loved it. I still love it. We're going to keep doing it. I feel like the pacing of the lessons is good. I am making sure to be more intentional about doing all the extra activities and games that they have with it. I would skip them a lot of times before, not because they necessarily took up a whole lot of time. I just didn't really see the value in it. But now that I have missed them a couple times in a row, I realize that part of the value of that is they're good for review and that kind of thing. So we're going to keep doing those. I add in some copywork pages and stuff on our own, but very much happy with Logic of English, and I'm definitely going to keep doing that.
History has been a huge hit. I am still loving Story of the World a lot. I love that it gives you all the options to fluff out the curriculum as much as you want of extra reading, and here's a project, and here's a craft, and here's this, and like all the things. But at the same time, if you don't do any of them, it is still a good, solid curriculum on its own, and that is great. So my daughter loves the story aspect of how it's written. I love how the books are written as well. Um, we're still going through the map worksheets and the coloring pages together, and we do those, but that's the extent of the extra that we add into it. I do have a copy of the Kingfisher Illustrated History of the World from my mom that she had when we were kids, and I use it for Story of the World as well because it references that, and so it's nice because it helps give some pictures and good visuals and stuff like that. Every now and then we'll do a little bit of extra reading based on books that I already have, but I am loving Story of the World for how simple it is, and yet I can tell my daughter is grasping it and understanding it, and it's making sense. She saw something the other day about it was we were watching The Princess Bride, and he references like go back to Greenland. Like she's like, Mom, Greenland, that's where the Vikings went. And was talking about it. I was like, yes, you made the connection, very good job. So it's funny just to see like how she's picking up on those things. One subject that I admit we struggled with quite a bit this year was actually Apology of Science. And it was really just not what I was expecting. There was a ton more reading than I was planning on. There were way more science experiments than I was really wanting to do. It seemed very involved. Even to read and like break up the lessons like I'd been trying to do, I was still having to spend like at least a solid 20 minutes a day reading science to her. And I just didn't really feel like that was necessary for second grade science. In my mind, I was thinking maybe 10 minutes of reading, tops 15 minutes. But one thing that was really encouraging was I actually got together with my family over Christmas and was able to talk with my sister-in-law because she's the one who actually gave me the tip off for Apologia because they really liked it and have used it in the past. And they were actually doing the exact same book through Apologia this year as I was doing. And I just was able to really be candid with her and be like, hey, I'm really struggling with it this year. Like, I am not enjoying it. This is not what I was expecting. I feel like this is a ton of reading. Like, they say it's for first through sixth grade, but I feel like this is much more like fourth through sixth, not appropriate for first through third grade kind of thing. And she was like, me too. I feel the same way. Her youngest daughter is actually just a couple months older than our oldest. And so they're in the same grade. And she said, you know, with her, I barely have her, like, she listens, and if she can answer a question, great, but I don't worry about her comprehension and stuff right now because this science curriculum this year is just way over her head. And so it was really encouraging for me to hear another mom have the same viewpoint and to understand that she also thought it was really heavy duty and also thought that it was just way more than was actually necessary for second grade. And she was able to show me some of the old Apologia books that they had, and they are legitimately half the size of this one. And I was like, why is this one so huge? I think they were just trying to combine too much into one year because they were doing chemistry and physics. And I feel like they should have split it into 2 years. And that if you're going to do the chemistry and physics book, I would recommend splitting it into 2 years and maybe just filling in a little bit more. Because I think Apologia was probably like, well, we don't have enough physics stuff to make a full curriculum or enough chemistry stuff to make a full curriculum. So let's just put them together. And to me, it's way too much. It's very much overload. And so as we move forward for the rest of the year, I am not going to worry about finishing the book. I think I can't remember how many lessons there are total in the book, but we are only going to do, I picked 2 that I think look interesting, and we're going to do those 2, and we're just going to spread it out over the next 3 terms and have it be really light and actually fit the pace that we want to fit. I hope this video gave you guys some really good ideas and helped take a lot of pressure off so you realize that you can plan your school to fit the way you're doing life. And if you need to change the plan, you can change the plan. That is the beauty of homeschooling, is that we have that flexibility, we have that freedom to make the curriculum work for us. We don't have to make our lives work for the curriculum. So I hope this was encouraging to you guys. Be sure to like and subscribe if you found this video encouraging, and I will see you next time. Thanks.